Something feels deeply wrong with the American economy right now, and most people can feel it before they can explain it. The stock market keeps climbing. Tech companies keep announcing record valuations. Artificial intelligence is supposedly creating the future. Corporate profits remain enormous. Politicians keep repeating that unemployment numbers are healthy. And yet, millions of people are quietly experiencing a completely different reality. People with degrees sending out hundreds of applications without a single response. Experienced workers applying for jobs beneath their skill level just to survive. College graduates moving back into childhood bedrooms. Professionals competing for positions that suddenly have thousands of applicants. Entire industries slowing down without officially collapsing. And that contradiction matters more than people realize. Because economies are not just numbers, they are emotional systems, psychological systems, expectation systems. When large numbers of people begin feeling economically trapped at the same time, even while headlines insist everything is strong, something dangerous starts forming underneath society itself. Not panic. Something slower. Disorientation. Because people can survive hardship more easily than confusion. But when people are told the economy is booming while their own lives feel increasingly unstable, trust starts breaking down. And that may be exactly what is happening right now in America. The strange part is that this doesn't look like older economic collapses. There are no breadlines, no dramatic market crashes, no giant moment where everything visibly explodes at once. Instead, this crisis feels invisible, quiet, fragmented, psychological. A person loses a job and spends 8 months pretending everything is okay on LinkedIn. Another gets interviews but never receives callbacks. Another works full-time yet still cannot afford rent without debt. Another has a resume that would have guaranteed stability 15 years ago, but now disappears into automated hiring systems without even being seen by human eyes. And the deeper you look, the stranger the system becomes. Because America did not accidentally create this environment. In many ways, modern corporations evolved toward it. For decades, businesses were designed around expansion. Growth required more offices, more employees, more middle managers, more training, more long-term investment into workers. But slowly, corporate psychology changed. Especially after the rise of data-driven management, companies became obsessed with efficiency metrics, productivity ratios, quarterly earnings, shareholder optimization, labor cost reduction. And eventually, workers stopped being viewed primarily as humans contributing value, and started being viewed as operational weight. A variable on a spreadsheet. Something to minimize. And once that shift happened, everything else started changing around it. Hiring became slower. Teams became leaner, workloads increased, temporary contracts expanded, automation accelerated, experience requirements exploded. Suddenly, entry-level jobs required years of experience. Mid-level jobs expected executive-level performance. And workers were expected to continuously adapt while companies removed more and more stability from employment itself. But that still wasn't the real transformation. The real transformation happened psychologically. Because corporations discovered something powerful, fear increases productivity. Not openly, not officially, but structurally. An employee who feels replaceable works differently from an employee who feels secure. A workforce afraid of layoffs becomes easier to control. People stop negotiating, stop resisting, stop demanding balance, stop taking risks. Economic uncertainty creates behavioral compliance. And over time, entire industries quietly normalized permanent instability. You can actually see this shift in the language companies now use. They no longer talk about careers, they talk about flexibility, adaptability, agility, optimization, scalability. Words that sound modern and efficient, until you realize most of them are describing systems designed to remove permanence from human lives. And this is where technology enters the story. Because many people assume artificial intelligence suddenly created the current job crisis overnight. But that explanation is too simple. AI didn't create the system. It entered a system that was already moving toward labor reduction for years. That detail matters. Companies were already searching for ways to reduce payroll dependency long before generative AI exploded into public attention. AI simply accelerated existing corporate incentives, and corporations respond very predictably to incentives. If software can reduce 10 workers into 6, many companies will not ask whether that creates a healthier society. They will ask whether investors approve. Because public corporations are not designed to maximize stability for workers. They are designed to maximize returns within legal boundaries. And once investors started rewarding lean operations, the labor market slowly transformed into something colder. Businesses discovered they could keep fewer employees permanently exhausted instead of properly staffed. And strangely, companies will not ask whether that creates a healthier society. They will ask whether investors approve. Because public corporations are not designed to maximize stability for workers. They are designed to maximize returns within legal boundaries. And once investors started rewarding lean operations, the labor market slowly transformed into something colder. Businesses discovered they could keep fewer employees permanently exhausted instead of properly staffed. And strangely, technology made this easier to hide. Because digital systems create the illusion of opportunity. Online job boards feel infinite. Applications feel accessible. Remote work creates the appearance of flexibility. But underneath that convenience, something psychologically brutal emerged. Infinite competition. A person no longer competes only with people in their city, or their state, or even their country. Now they compete with everyone. Thousands of applicants for a single position. Automated filtering systems eliminating resumes before humans ever see them. Workers continuously reshaping themselves to fit algorithmic hiring systems they do not even understand. And eventually, job hunting itself starts feeling less like opportunity, and more like survival roulette. But even that is only part of the problem. Because something else has been happening at the exact same time. America's economy became increasingly disconnected from ordinary human experience. This is one of the strangest realities of modern capitalism. Markets can rise while people struggle. Corporate profits can increase while workers decline. Economic growth can exist without widespread economic security. And that sounds impossible, until you understand where modern wealth is concentrating. Much of today's economic growth exists inside highly concentrated sectors. Technology, financial systems, asset ownership, artificial intelligence infrastructure. Industries generating enormous financial value, without generating proportional human employment. That distinction is critical. Older economic booms created ecosystems. Factories created surrounding jobs. Construction expanded communities. Industrial growth spread outward into towns, neighborhoods, restaurants, transportation, local businesses. But modern digital wealth behaves differently. A small number of companies can now influence enormous portions of the economy with relatively limited workforces compared to older industrial giants. And psychologically, this creates a terrifying illusion. The economy appears strong from above, while large sections underneath quietly weaken. And eventually people start noticing the disconnect. They see billion-dollar valuations beside rising personal instability. Luxury development beside economic anxiety. Corporate celebrations beside hiring freezes. And slowly, resentment starts forming. Not always against specific companies. Against the feeling itself. The feeling that the system no longer produces proportional reward for effort. And historically, that feeling changes societies. Because economic systems rely heavily on emotional belief. People tolerate stress when they believe stability is still reachable. When they believe effort still connects to progress. When they believe sacrifice eventually creates security. But once enough people stop believing that, societies become psychologically unstable long before they become financially unstable. And this is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable. Because many institutions still speak about employment using outdated assumptions. The idea that workers simply need more discipline, more education, more skills, more productivity. But modern labor markets are not behaving like older labor markets anymore. In many industries, workers are already highly educated, already highly skilled, already highly adaptable. The issue is no longer simply qualification. The issue is structural saturation. Too many people competing inside systems increasingly designed to reduce labor dependency itself. And that creates something economists often struggle to measure properly: psychological exhaustion. Not unemployment alone. Exhaustion. The exhaustion of constantly adapting, constantly applying, constantly reskilling, constantly performing professional optimism while privately feeling uncertain about survival. If you're new here, this is the Uncovered Context. Subscribe, because the systems shaping modern life are usually far more complicated than they first appear.